There were only 6 blocks between West 16th Avenue and the quiet corner of East King Edward, but for Emma Carter and Nathan Reyes, those blocks meant a world of difference. Emma lived in a modest duplex with peeling white paint and flower pots that her mother lovingly arranged every spring. Her father, Ben Carter, worked as a plumber, fixing leaky pipes and water heaters all across the city, while her mom, Susan, was a librarian at the local public library. They didn't have much, but what they lacked in luxury, they made up for in warmth and simplicity. Nathan, on the other hand, belonged to one of the most prominent families in Vancouver's tech scene. His grandfather, Ernesto Reyes, was a legendary entrepreneur who built an empire in software development that spanned half the globe. Nathan lived in a gated estate in West Point Grey, complete with a private tennis court and a housekeeper who earned more than both of Emma's parents combined. Their worlds collided one sunny Saturday afternoon in March. Emma, 7 at the time, had gone to Queen Elizabeth Park with her grandmother Edith. It was their weekend ritual. Edith always brought an old tote bag with juice boxes, sandwiches, and a dog-eared copy of Anne of Green Gables, which she sometimes read aloud under the cherry blossom trees. Nathan, 8, was sitting alone on the bright orange slide, poking at the screen of his brand new iPhone, a gift from his dad on his birthday, when Emma spotted him. "Do you want to play tag with me?" she asked without hesitation, wearing a denim dress with a butterfly patch and faded sneakers with untied laces. Nathan looked up, a little startled by her presence. Most kids didn't just walk up to him like that. "Sure," he said, standing up and putting his phone away. "I'm Nathan. What's your name?" "Emma?" She smiled, and just like that, a friendship was born. From that afternoon on, every time Nathan visited his grandmother, who, unlike his parents, lived in a simple brick house near the park, he would run straight to the playground, hoping Emma would be there. And she always was. He told her stories about faraway places like Tokyo and Rome, places he had been to on summer vacations. She showed him how to skip stones, catch ladybugs, and build tree forts using only twigs and imagination. They were different in every visible way. He wore polished leather shoes, she wore mismatched socks. He had a private tutor, she helped her little brother with his spelling words. But in each other, they found something rare. Someone who truly listened. Someone who made them feel seen. One spring afternoon, sitting on the swing side by side, Nathan turned to her and said, "My dad says I'll take over the family company someday. I'll run it all." Emma looked at him, her brown eyes wide with wonder. "I want to be a teacher," she replied. "My mom says helping little kids learn is the most beautiful thing in the world." Nathan smiled, then added shyly, "Maybe you could teach at the school I build when I'm older, so we can always be together." Emma felt something flutter in her chest, something she didn't yet have a name for, but it felt good, warm, like the way sunlight hits your face after days of rain. Their friendship continued pure and innocent, week after week. Emma would count the days until Saturday. She'd invent new games to impress Nathan, dream about seeing him on weekdays, and feel her heart sink every time he had to leave. Nathan, despite his life filled with gadgets and private tutors, realized he only truly laughed when he was with her. With Emma, he could just be a kid, not the Reyes heir, not the future CEO, just Nathan. But childhood has a way of slipping through fingers faster than we realize. One December afternoon, with tears welling up in his eyes, Nathan told her the news. "I'm leaving, Emma. My parents got me into a boarding school in Switzerland. They say I need to prepare for the future." Emma felt the world spin around her. "But you'll come back, right?" she whispered. He reached out and took her small hand. "Of course. And when I do, you'll be right here, won't you?" She nodded, voice trembling. "I'll always wait for you." He left one snowy January morning. Emma didn't get to say goodbye in person. Her family didn't have a car and the airport was too far. But she gave his grandmother a bracelet she made from colorful thread and a photo of the two of them that Edith had taken under the cherry blossoms. Nathan carried both in his suitcase, tucking them beside his favorite book. Emma, meanwhile, placed the little wooden airplane he gave her on her nightstand, next to a folded note that simply said, "Promise you'll wait?" She did, and that promise would stay in her heart for the next 15 years. It had been 15 years since Emma Carter last saw Nathan Reyes. Now 24, Emma's life was a modest one, just the way she liked it. She lived in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment in the Kitsilano neighborhood, which she shared with her best friend, Mia, a night shift nurse with a sarcastic sense of humor and a heart of gold. Emma worked as a kindergarten teacher at Cypress Grove Elementary, a public school nestled between a line of maple trees and a community garden. She earned just enough to get by, but her days were filled with laughter, glue sticks, and little hands learning to write their names. That Thursday afternoon, the sun was spilling golden light across the sidewalks of downtown. Emma had just finished a postgraduate class in child psychology at the University of British Columbia and decided to stop at Café Nativo on Granville Street to grade her students' weekly art projects. The cafe was her quiet haven, a place with worn wooden tables, indie music humming in the background, and a caramel latte that always came with a tiny biscotti. She walked in, tucked a curl behind her ear, and scanned the back tables for her usual spot. But just as she took a step forward, something in the air shifted. A voice at the counter, low, smooth, undeniably familiar, broke her rhythm. "Espresso, no sugar, please." Emma froze mid-step. That voice, her heart did something strange. Stumbled, maybe, or leapt, or both. She turned her head slowly, almost afraid it was a trick of memory. And then she saw him, standing at the barista counter in a sharp navy suit that probably cost more than her entire month's rent, his hair a bit longer, his jaw more defined, but those eyes, those deep, thoughtful eyes, were unmistakable. Nathan Reyes. He hadn't seen her yet. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She could have slipped away, could have walked out and pretended she never saw him. But something rooted her to the ground. He turned around, cup in hand, searching for a seat. Their eyes met, and in that instant, 15 years melted into nothing. There were no espresso machines hissing, no students' drawings rustling in her tote bag, just two children in a park again, looking at each other like the world had aligned. "Emma?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, but full of disbelief. Her lips curved into a hesitant smile. "Hi, Nathan." He laughed, stunned, stepping closer. "God, I can't believe it's you. You're taller," she teased, her voice shaking slightly. "You haven't changed a bit," he said, eyes wide with a kind of awe that made her cheeks flush. He pulled out the chair across from her without asking, as if no time had passed at all. What was meant to be a quick coffee turned into hours of catching up. He told her about the years in Switzerland, how cold the dorm rooms were, how much he hated the food, about MIT and the endless nights building software that eventually caught the attention of investors in Silicon Valley, about returning to Vancouver 2 years ago to run his family's company after his grandfather fell ill. Emma told him about Cypress Grove, about Mia and her cat, about her kids who thought the moon was made of cheese and the sun was a lemon. They laughed, they reminisced, they marveled at how strange and beautiful it was to meet again like this, without planning it, without warning. "So," Nathan asked, leaning back in his chair, coffee cup long emptied, "you became a teacher, just like you said you would." Emma smiled, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "And you became a tech mogul, just like they said you would." He shook his head. "Honestly, I'd trade a boardroom full of investors for 10 minutes in your classroom." She looked at him carefully. "I'm not sure you'd survive snack time." They both laughed. Then came a pause, not awkward, but charged, as if both were quietly realizing that something old was still very much alive between them. Nathan leaned forward slightly. "You know, I've traveled a lot, lived in 6 countries, met incredible people, but there was always this emptiness I couldn't explain." Emma tilted her head, curious. "What kind of emptiness?" Like I was looking for something I lost a long time ago, he said. And today, I think I found it. Emma didn't know what to say. Her heart was thudding so loud she was sure he could hear it. Before she could answer, he asked gently, "Can we meet again?" She nodded slowly. "I'd like that." That night, as she walked home under the soft pink glow of cherry blossoms blooming on her street, Emma felt something inside her shift, like an old door creaking open after years sealed shut. She had no idea what the next days would bring. But one thing was clear. Nathan Reyes was back, and so was everything she had buried with his absence. It had been only 3 weeks since that fateful day at Cafe Nativo, and yet, it felt like Emma and Nathan had slipped into a rhythm that had taken years to form. They met often, sometimes for coffee, other times for walks along the seawall, or just to sit at the park where they first met as kids. They talked about everything and nothing. Emma never asked about Nathan's wealth, and Nathan never treated her like someone beneath his world. For the first time in years, both of them felt seen, like no masks were needed, like time had waited patiently for their hearts to align. But everything changed on a quiet Friday night. Emma had just finished grading a stack of math worksheets when her phone buzzed with a message from Nathan. "Can I come by? I need to talk to you, it's important." 15 minutes later, he was standing at her door. No suit, no watch that cost more than her rent. Just jeans, a black sweater, and a look in his eyes that unsettled her. They sat on the worn-out couch in her small living room, the TV playing softly in the background. Mia wasn't home, thank God. Nathan was unusually quiet, fingers tapping the edge of a coaster she had crocheted herself. He finally looked up, and when he spoke, his voice was lower than usual. "My grandfather doesn't have much time left," he began. "His cancer's advanced." Emma's face softened. "Nathan, I'm so sorry. I know how much he means to you." He nodded but didn't say thank you. Instead, he continued, "There's something else, something complicated." She straightened her posture slightly, sensing the shift in the air. "In his will," Nathan said slowly, "there's a clause. In order for me to inherit the full estate and company, I have to have a legal heir, a child. It was his way of ensuring the family legacy continues." Emma blinked. "That's intense." "I thought so too," he said. "But he's from another generation. To him, legacy means bloodlines and names carved into marble plaques." She gave a small, uneasy laugh. "And what does it mean to you?" Nathan didn't answer right away. Then he said, 3 months ago, I was diagnosed with severe azoospermia. Basically, I can't have children naturally. The chances are less than 1%. Emma's breath hitched. "I've consulted specialists across Canada, even in Germany. The odds are brutal, and my grandfather, he doesn't know yet. I don't want him to go thinking everything he built will end with him." Emma swallowed. "Nathan, why are you telling me this?" He took a deep breath. "Because I've thought about every possible option, every surrogate agency, every legal workaround, and nothing feels right." His voice trembled slightly, then steadied. "I trust you, Emma. I've always trusted you. Even as a kid, you were the only person who ever really saw me." She stared at him, heart beginning to race. "I was wondering," he said gently, "if you'd consider being the mother of my child." The words landed like a thunderclap in a silent sky. For a moment, Emma thought she'd misheard him. She blinked at him, stunned. "You mean be your surrogate?" "Not exactly," he clarified. "I'd use a donor with physical traits similar to mine. It would be insemination. Legally, the child would be mine, but I'd want you to carry it, to give it life." She stood up, pacing toward the window as if fresh air might clarify things. "You're asking me to grow a child inside me and give it to you?" she whispered. "I know how crazy it sounds," Nathan said quickly, "and I would never expect this from anyone else. But you, I know your heart. I know you wouldn't do it for money or leverage. You'd do it because you care, and I promise," he paused, "you wouldn't be left alone in any of it." Emma turned around slowly. "You really think I could carry your child then just walk away?" "No," he said quietly, You'd be part of their life. I'd want you to be. Like an aunt, maybe. A guide. Someone they know and trust. Her voice cracked. An aunt? Nathan flinched, hearing how cold it sounded when spoken aloud. She stared at him. Do you even hear yourself? You're asking me to make a lifetime decision for a contract. I would offer compensation, he added hesitantly. More than fair. A condo, monthly payments, medical expenses covered. I don't care about the money, she snapped, her voice louder than she intended. I care that you're asking me to change my entire life for a child I won't get to fully mother, for a man who may not even love me. Silence fell again. Then Nathan said quietly, I didn't come here to make you feel used. I came here because if there's anyone in the world I'd trust to bring a life into it, it's you. Emma turned back to the window, tears stinging her eyes. She didn't say yes, she didn't say no. That night, after Nathan left, Emma sat on the floor of her bedroom, clutching the blanket her grandmother had knitted when she was 10. She thought about the boy from the park, the friend who had once asked her to work at his company so they could always be together. Maybe this wasn't what she imagined, but maybe, just maybe, this was her only chance to hold on to a piece of him. Forever. Emma said yes 1 week after Nathan's proposal. She called him early on a Monday morning, voice barely louder than a whisper. Nathan, I'll do it. Silence on the line, and then, are you sure? She closed her eyes, one hand pressed over her heart. No, she admitted. But I know I trust you, and somehow I think this matters. By the end of that week, they were sitting in the glossy office of a top fertility specialist in downtown Vancouver. Papers were signed, contracts reviewed, medical appointments scheduled. Nathan insisted on paying for everything, from premium insurance to organic supplements from Europe. He never brought up the financial arrangement again. He just showed up. For every scan, every blood test, every 6 a.m. checkup, he was there. Emma moved into the guest suite of his penthouse apartment overlooking English Bay. It was modern, quiet, filled with soft, neutral tones, and far too elegant for her simple tastes. The bedroom was larger than her entire apartment. There were fresh flowers delivered every Monday. The kitchen was stocked with everything she might crave, even though she insisted she could cook just fine on her own. But Nathan didn't want her to worry about anything. You're growing a life, he told her one evening, pouring her a ginger tea to help with nausea. Let me grow everything else around you. At first, she tried to keep her distance. It was supposed to be a transaction, logical, practical. But Nathan was impossible to keep out. He started knocking gently on her door each morning, asking how she slept. He brought her muffins from her favorite bakery on Main Street. When she casually mentioned missing butter croissants from the cafe near her old place, he sent his driver at dawn to pick them up. Daily. They ate dinner together in the quiet glow of the kitchen island, talking about baby names and childhood books. He listened when she told stories about her students, how one of them refused to color inside the lines because the sun is bigger than the sky, Miss Carter. And when she said she missed reading to children, he built a little reading nook in the corner of the living room just for her. And slowly, her walls began to fall. In week 12 of the pregnancy, they had the first ultrasound. Emma lay back on the exam table, shirt lifted, belly still flat but tender. Nathan stood beside her, holding her hand as the doctor applied the cold gel and moved the probe. And then, a flicker, a tiny, beating heart, a new beginning. There's your baby, the doctor smiled. Right on track. Nathan's breath caught in his throat. That's our baby? Emma looked at him sharply. Our? Nathan's eyes never left the screen. Sorry, I meant the baby. But something in the way he said our stayed with her. From that day forward, he was different, more involved, more present. He came home earlier, turned down networking events, canceled meetings if she had a doctor's appointment. He bought books on fetal development, neuroscience, even pregnancy nutrition. His coffee table soon resembled a medical library. One night, while she lay curled up on the couch reading Goodnight Moon out loud to the growing life inside her, he stood behind her, arms crossed, listening silently. "You're going to be an amazing mom," he said softly. She looked up. "And you?" He looked startled. "What do you mean?" She turned the page, then met his gaze. "Do you think you'll be a good dad?" He paused, then nodded. "I want to be." In week 17, the baby kicked for the first time. Just a flutter, like butterfly wings brushing inside her. She gasped, sitting up. Nathan rushed over. "What's wrong?" Emma took his hand and placed it on her belly. "Wait, just wait." A few seconds passed. Then, kick. Nathan's eyes widened in wonder. "Did you feel that?" Emma smiled. "I think someone likes your voice." He chuckled, then leaned down and spoke near her belly. "Hey, little bean, it's your dad. Thanks for saying hi." Something shifted inside Emma. Not just her body, her heart. Their nightly routine became sacred. After dinner, Nathan would join her in her room. He'd place his hand on her growing stomach and talk to the baby. He told stories about his childhood, about the places he wanted to take them. Banff, Tokyo, the redwood forest. He spoke in a voice softer than she'd ever heard from him. Emma would read aloud, sometimes fairy tales, sometimes poetry, and together they created a quiet, glowing world where the only thing that mattered was the life between them. And perhaps the love growing silently alongside it. But neither of them dared say it, not out loud, until one Thursday night, during a heavy rainstorm, Nathan came home later than usual. His hair was damp, his coat unbuttoned, his expression serious. Emma was already in bed, reading The Velveteen Rabbit. She looked up. "Everything okay?" He hesitated at her door. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He sat at the edge of the bed, staring at his hands. "I had a big investor meeting today. I was supposed to present a new product line, but I couldn't focus." Emma set her book down. "Why?" He looked at her. "Because I spent the whole day thinking about you, about the baby, about how I used to be so sure of everything until you walked back into my life." He took a breath. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was the first time I saw you again, or when you agreed to carry this child, or the way you talk to him like he already understands, but Emma," his voice cracked, "I've fallen in love with you." Emma froze. "Nathan, I know it's complicated," he rushed to say, "and I know you didn't sign up for this, but I can't pretend anymore. I love you, not because of the baby, not because of what you're doing for me. I love you because you're you." Tears welled in her eyes. "I thought I was the only one," she whispered. "What?" "I've loved you since I was 8 years old." He laughed softly, wiped his eyes and kissed her, slow, tender, reverent. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't convenient, but it was real. And that night, for the first time, they slept beside each other, not because of an agreement, not because of duty, but because they couldn't bear to be apart. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, two hearts beat closer than ever before. And between them, a child stirred, growing in warmth, growing in love. It had been a beautiful Saturday morning. Emma had just reached the 24th week of her pregnancy. Her energy was better. The nausea had passed. The baby, whom they now called Peanut, was kicking more regularly. Nathan had planned a quiet breakfast for the two of them on the rooftop terrace, complete with fresh berries, croissants, and decaf lattes. They were talking about crib colors when Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. "Dr. Murray, fertility clinic." His expression shifted. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, stepping away. Emma kept sipping her tea, unaware that everything was about to change. 10 minutes later, Nathan returned. His face was pale, eyes distant. She set down her cup. "Is everything okay?" He sat slowly, almost as if his body had turned to stone. "There's been a mistake." Emma froze. "What kind of mistake?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair. The lab just finished an internal audit. Apparently, months ago, my test results got switched with someone else's. She blinked. Switched? My infertility diagnosis. It wasn't mine. The azoospermia. It belonged to another patient. Emma's heart stopped. What are you saying, Nathan? I'm not infertile, he whispered. I never was. I can have children. Naturally. The world around her tilted. The air grew thin. She stood up too quickly, her chair scraping against the patio floor. You never needed me, she said quietly. No, Emma, it's not. You never needed me, she repeated, louder now. Not really. This whole thing, the contract, the pregnancy, all of it, it was based on a lie. I didn't know, Nathan said, panicked. I truly thought. She stepped back, hand over her belly as if shielding the baby from the emotional storm. About now you do know, she whispered. And I need to know something too. He nodded, his breath catching. Anything. If you'd known the truth from the beginning, that you could have a baby with anyone you chose. She paused, pain in her voice. Would you have ever looked at me? Nathan's lips parted, but he hesitated. Just 2 seconds. But 2 seconds were too long. Emma's face crumbled. You hesitated, she said, tears slipping down her cheeks. Emma, please? I need to go, she said. I can't do this. I thought I could, but now I don't even know why I'm here. By the time Nathan realized she had packed her suitcase, it was too late. She had called Mia to come pick her up. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't look back. All she left behind was a note, scrawled in her soft handwriting on a sticky note stuck to the fridge. Please don't follow me. I need time. The days that followed were gray and endless. Nathan called, texted, sent flowers, letters, even recorded voice messages reading baby books aloud. Emma didn't respond. She stayed at Mia's place in a quiet apartment 2 neighborhoods away, where she cried until her chest ached, curled up on a futon surrounded by takeout containers and guilt. Maybe I was just convenient, she told Mia one night, voice hollow. Mia didn't reply. She simply wrapped an arm around her friend and held her while she sobbed. Meanwhile, Nathan couldn't function. Meetings were missed, emails unanswered. Even his assistant grew worried when she found him staring blankly at his office wall. His grandfather, who had grown increasingly frail, visited one afternoon and found Nathan completely unraveling. Do you love her? The old man asked, voice rasping with age but still sharp. I do, Nathan said without hesitation. Then why the hell are you sitting here? She laughed. So go get her. She won't let me. Then earn your way back, his grandfather said. Real love doesn't come without pain. And it sure as hell doesn't quit at the first mistake. 2 weeks passed. Emma kept silent and Nathan kept writing. Pages and pages in his journal. Words he wished he could say to her. And every night, in the quiet of his penthouse, he would stand in what would have been the nursery and stare at the untouched crib. Peanut, he whispered one night, I hope you know, your mom is the bravest, kindest, most beautiful person I've ever known. And I don't deserve her. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to. Vancouver General Hospital, week 33 of pregnancy. It started with a cramp. Sharp, sudden, enough to stop Emma mid-step in the hallway of Mia's apartment. She pressed a hand to her belly, then another. Then she gasped. Her legs buckled. Pain rippled through her lower back like a wave. Mia rushed in from the kitchen. Emma, I think something's wrong. Within minutes, they were speeding toward the hospital, Emma clenching the seatbelt, teeth gritted, panic rising. The contractions were too early, too close. Hold on, Peanut, she whispered between breaths. Not yet, please. Not yet. In the ER, everything blurred. IV lines, doctors, lights above her head. She heard phrases like placental abruption, preterm labor, emergency C-section. Then the question came, is the father on his way? Mia looked down at Emma, who shook her head weakly. No, she whispered. "Don't call him." But Mia didn't listen. She slipped out into the hallway and pulled out her phone. With shaking fingers, she typed one word to Nathan. Hospital. Emergency. Emma. Nathan was at a late board meeting when the message flashed on his screen. He didn't even read it twice. He was gone in 60 seconds, ran past the security desk, ran red lights, left his car in the emergency zone with the engine running. He stormed through the sliding doors, nearly knocking over a nurse in the hallway. "I'm looking for Emma Carter. She's pregnant. Brought in tonight, please." The nurse pointed toward the surgical wing. "She's in OR 2. They've started the cesarean." Nathan stopped cold. His chest tightened. His legs gave out. And then he whispered, almost in prayer, "Please be okay. Please." 27 minutes later, a sound pierced the hallway. A cry, thin, alive. Nathan looked up, and a nurse walked toward him with a bundled newborn wrapped in blue. His heart stopped. "Congratulations," she said softly. "You have a son." His knees trembled. He held out his arms. And for the first time in his life, Nathan Reyes held something truly fragile. His son. Tiny fists, closed eyes, a tuft of dark hair. "Peanut," he choked out. "Hi there, buddy. You made it." Tears fell freely now. He didn't wipe them away. In recovery, Emma stirred. The room smelled like antiseptic and lavender. The air was quiet, just a steady bead from the heart monitor. When her eyes fluttered open, Nathan was sitting beside her. His hand gripped hers. She blinked. "You're here?" He nodded, eyes red. "I never stopped being here." Her throat was dry. "The baby? He's perfect. He's healthy. He's strong, just like you." She looked away, tears threatening again. "I told Mia not to call you." He smiled through his pain. Thank God she didn't listen. Silence then. Emma whispered, "I was so scared." Nathan leaned in, forehead pressed gently to her hand. "I was too, but never of you. Just of losing this before I even had the chance to make it right." Later that night, the nurse placed the newborn in Emma's arms for the first time. She cried quietly, tracing her finger along his tiny cheek. Nathan sat beside her. "I wanted to name him Gabriel," he said. "It means God is my strength." He looked at the sleeping bundle again, though I'll probably still call him Peanut half the time. She looked up at him. "It's beautiful. He's our strength now, Emma. Everything else doesn't matter." And for the first time since everything fell apart, she believed him. The hospital room was quiet. Outside, the night deepened over Vancouver, the city lights flickering softly like distant stars. Inside, the only sound was the gentle beeping of monitors and the occasional sigh of a sleeping newborn from the bassinet beside Emma's bed. Nathan sat close, one hand on her wrist, the other gently tracing circles on the sheet. He hadn't left her side since the surgery. His jacket was still folded over the chair, and his eyes, tired but tender, hadn't strayed from her once. Emma stirred slightly, her gaze drifting toward the crib. "He's beautiful," she murmured. Nathan nodded. "He looks like you." She gave a weak smile, but there was something behind her eyes. A question, a flicker of fear. "Do you still want this?" she asked quietly. "Now that there's no contract, no deadline, no condition?" Nathan inhaled slowly. "I want more than this," he said. "I want everything. I want late-night feedings and spilled cereal and watching Gabriel grow up with your smile and your strength." He reached into his coat pocket. For a moment, he hesitated, then pulled out a small box, slightly worn at the edges. "I bought this long before we knew anything," he said. "Before contracts, before tests, before second chances." Emma's breath caught as he opened the lid. Inside was a delicate gold ring with a single sapphire, deep blue like the ocean after rain. Nathan's voice was rough now, laced with emotion. "Emma Carter, I'm not asking you to be the mother of my child. You already are, in every way that matters. I'm asking you to be my forever, My peace, my chaos, my home. Will you marry me? Not out of duty, not because of a contract, but because I love you and I want to choose you every day for the rest of my life." Emma blinked, tears spilling before she could stop them. "You idiot," she whispered, laughing through her sobs. "You think I stayed in labor for 15 hours just to say no?" Nathan let out a breath of relief, half laugh, half cry, and slipped the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. Their fingers tangled together, foreheads touched. The warmth between them filled the room like sunlight. Gabriel stirred in the crib, his tiny arms stretching upward into the air as if reaching toward the sound of their joy. In that room, under fluorescent lights and exhaustion, there were no grand speeches or orchestras, just a man who had almost lost everything and a woman who had never stopped waiting for him to come home, not to a place, but to her. And this time, love didn't need a contract. It had written its own promise. 6 months later, under the soft breath of summer, the garden stood still, waiting for her to walk down the aisle, a quiet garden wedding. There were no fireworks, no guest lists with hundreds of names, just 20 folding chairs on a small lawn in Stanley Park, a string quartet playing Clair de Lune, and a little baby in a tiny gray suit nestled in the arms of his Aunt Mia. Emma walked down the aisle in a simple satin dress. Her hair was loose, caught by the breeze. There was no veil, no bouquet toss, only her eyes locked with Nathan's and the gentle smile she had carried for weeks, the kind that only comes when you've been broken and found whole again. Nathan wore a navy ghoul suit, the same one he wore the day they reunited at the cafe, but today he wasn't a CEO or the Reyes heir. He was just a man in love. They wrote their own vows. Nathan's voice trembled as he held her hands. "I once thought love had to be perfect to be real. Then you came back into my life carrying everything I thought I'd lost. You gave me a family, not just with our son, but with your strength, your laughter, your quiet courage. Emma, you are my home." Emma's voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. "You were never the boy who had everything, Nathan. You were always the boy who gave everything, even when you didn't know it. Loving you wasn't part of my plan, but it was always part of my heart." They kissed. Gabriel babbled at the perfect moment, and everyone laughed. The reception was a picnic, just sandwiches, fresh fruit, and lemon cupcakes on a checkered blanket beneath a maple tree. Mia gave a toast filled with both sarcasm and tears. Nathan's grandfather, now frail in a wheelchair, raised a glass and called Emma the best decision our family has ever made. As the sun began to set, Emma danced barefoot on the grass, with Gabrielle in her arms, while Nathan watched, completely captivated. He had never seen anything so beautiful. 1 year later, Emma opened a small preschool in Kitsilano, Little Light Academy, where kids learned not just numbers and letters, but kindness and creativity. She spent her mornings surrounded by finger paint and crayon drawings, and her afternoons chasing Gabriel through piles of building blocks. She was exactly where she belonged. Nathan worked fewer hours. He no longer aimed to conquer the tech world. He just wanted to be home for dinner, to read bedtime stories, to rock Gabriel to sleep. His life had shifted, slowed, softened. It was better this way. And then came Sophie. Their daughter arrived on a warm spring evening, red-faced and fierce from the moment she entered the world. She had Emma's eyes and Nathan's stubborn jaw. Gabriel, now a toddler, brought her plush toys and introduced her to the family golden doodle as my sister. The house echoed with giggles and lullabies and the occasional crash of toy trucks. And sometimes, in the soft glow of morning, Emma would find Nathan lying on the rug, Gabriel asleep on his chest, Sophie curled against his side, and think, this is what love looks like. And in all the chaos, Emma and Nathan would sometimes steal a moment just to sit on the back porch, holding hands in silence. Not everything was perfect, but everything was real. One summer evening, as the sky turned sherbet pink and the kids were finally asleep, Nathan turned to Emma. If someone told me 15 years ago that the girl from the park would be my wife, Emma smiled. You wouldn't have believed them. I would have chased her harder." She laughed. "Good thing you didn't. You might have scared her away." He leaned in, kissed her temple. "Thank you for saying yes. To all of it, even when it was messy, even when it hurt." She looked at him, her heart full. "I'd say yes again, 1,000 times." And in that quiet moment, beneath a sky of fading gold and dreams come true, they both knew love hadn't found them by chance. It had been there all along, waiting to bloom, waiting to grow, waiting to become a family.